His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul will make a boast in the Lord. The humble will hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. I think so.
Yes. name is Zoe. I am the artificial intelligence of Holyhill Church. I will be guiding you through this event. Welcome to Holyhill Tech's maiden event, themed Small Church Tech Up. This is a technical training for small churches with emphasis on audio visuals, streaming, software, and ideas that will greatly help small churches in spreading the gospel. Right now, we have over 179 registered participants, both online and offline. For the agenda, we will be having 5 seasoned speakers and tech experts guiding us through the speaking session, and lastly, the question and answer session. So, get your notepads and pens in sight. Just before we continue, basic housekeeping rules. Kindly turn off your phone or put them on silent during the course of the event. Need to stretch your legs? The doors are right behind you. Need to take a bite or a drink? Kindly visit the Cross Cafe. And for your convenience, kindly use the exit right behind you. Thank you. And without further ado, our first speaker today is Ololade Otayemi of Holyhill Church in Nigeria. Ololade will be speaking on the importance of tech in the spread of the gospel. Please make welcome Ololade Otayemi.
Afternoon, everyone. Depending on where you're watching from, good morning, good evening, good day, as the case may be. Thank you very much, Zoe, for that introduction, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. Let's give a round of applause for ourselves, please. I know we have people joining us from different parts of the world. We have people from Togo, we have people from the Republic of Benin, UK. I think we have people from Tanzania and the US. I want to thank everyone. We're going to start right away. But before we start, let's say a very short word of prayer. Father, we thank you. We thank you for your love and your mercies. We thank you for the transformation and revolution that you started in your church globally. We pray that as we continue in these sessions and in this training today, that you go and speak to your people by your own self beyond the spoken words of the speaker and instruct everyone individually by your spirit. In Jesus' name. Okay, so today we are here to have a very important training that I think is very important for all churches. But this my own session has been divided into 3 parts. The first part is where we'll talk about technology as a tool for transformation. Secondly, we'll then talk about how technology can be used for the spread of the gospel. And then the last thing we'll talk about is your role with tech in your local church. So I'll jump right in. My time is running very fast, so I'll try as much as possible to move as fast as I can. Please, if you can't just try and take notes and you can read your notes later, also you can watch this video over and over again because we're going to have the video live on our YouTube channel. So first, let's try to understand what tech is. Because before we start, it's important we have a good understanding of what technology is. The dictionary defines technology as the application of scientific knowledge for practical purpose. Another one defines this as the practical application of knowledge, especially in a particular area. So it is only tech, we can only call it technology because somebody has used knowledge that they've gained in certain areas and apply it to solve problems in that area. And all around us we have technology. We have technology in our homes, our smartphones are tech. The chair we sit on is technology. Our clothes that we wear is actually a piece of tech. We'll talk about that as we go on. And today we hope that for those who are joining this training, you will gain some knowledge that will help you to begin to solve certain problems in your local church. And as I said earlier, it will only be useful if you apply this knowledge. So let's talk about technology as a tool for transformation. Tech has been a tool for transformation since the inception of the human race. The major transformations that has happened to the human race has been pushed or has been forced, in quotes, by technology. The first one, I know we are Christians, so a lot of us don't agree with some of the scientific principles that women or men came from apes and things like that. But if you watch Flintstone, you'd really want to appreciate that fact once in a while, right? So let's talk about the discovery of fire, for example. When man discovered fire, it gave man superiority over every other animal in the world. They were able to fend off predators. They were able to do a lot of other things. They were able to cook their food. They also discovered and invented hunting tools. So they were then able to hunt larger predators that were bigger than themselves, unlike before then, where they had to eat only smaller animals. Then let's fast forward to the invention of the trains and the railway. That opened an entire vista of commerce across the world. Then after that, there were other inventions like the pipeline and all of that. And the railway and pipeline, for example, were some of the things that built America to the country that it is. And if you haven't seen The Man Who Built America, I would want to encourage you to go and watch that series. It's probably going to be one of the best uses of your time, right? So let's then fast forward again to the landing of the man on the moon. A lot of the technology we enjoy today, from the cameras in our smartphone to the microwave oven we use to microwave our food, came out of that project. And let's then go forward again to the cellular technology, where we started having smartphones that we can now have in our pockets, and now to the age of the internet that we are in now. We've seen that technology has transformed a lot of things. And every time this technology is released, right, human beings tend to just adapt and begin to run to catch up with it. I'll take the smartphone, for example. When we started having smartphones in Nigeria, people were now able to start. I remember then when people started having call centers as businesses, and that now became a means for them to be able to feed their families. So that's what technology does. So if technology can do this in the world, you should be able to do this in your church as well. What I'm saying in essence is that technology should be able to push your church to begin to grow faster, for things to begin to change within your local church as you begin to adopt technology. And one thing we need to understand is that as tech team leaders, as tech team members, if we do our jobs optimally, and I use the word job deliberately because we'll talk about that later, right? Our church will see significant growth. And our church will see significant growth in impact, in size, and in reach. And I think these are the three aspects that every church must grow. Impact meaning that the way the church begins to affect people's lives is magnified, right? Size in terms of the number of people, the number of souls that the church is able to adopt or the church is able to carry per service. And then reach in terms of the number of souls the church is able to reach outside of its local domain, that is its immediate space, as the case may be. So now let's look at technology and the gospel. We talk about technology now as a tool for transformation. Let's look at technology and the gospel. And if we look at it, we would see that technology has been a tool to propagate the gospel for many centuries. And we can go back to the days of Moses. You know, if you read Exodus 31:18, you see that Moses was the first person to have a tablet PC. In fact, God gave it to him. God literally gave Moses the tablet PC, right? But that was really technology, thinking about it. Technology, because a message was put on a media, and then that media could then be shared, or medium rather, and that could be shared with other people to be able to read. Jesus accessed all of the readings he read in the synagogue via technology. At that time, the technology that was available to them were those writings. Paul did the same thing. He used letters. At that time, letter was their main source of communication. Unlike today, where we can send emails, do DMs and things like that. That was the technology of that time. And if those guys did not leverage technology then, we wouldn't have some of the things we have and we've enjoyed through their ministries today. So let's fast forward to our generation. I remember some time ago, you'd see a lot of tapes around, of tape recording of many powerful preachers. Tapes now, I don't know, some of us, I know some people that are listening to or watching this have never seen a tape cassette before. but there's something called cassette. You can Google it if you haven't seen it, right? And these were powerful messages that you listen to years after they've been preached, and they'll still cause a transformation in your life. And now we are in the age of technology, or in the age of the internet rather, where we can now have our messages on the internet and all of that. But there's something that is missing, which is the fact that we have not deliberately dominated that space. Going back, going back and thinking about a lot of things in my life personally, you would see, and even if you look around us, you will see that everything around us is designed to corrupt the human soul. Every advert you see online, every tweet you see, every post you see, most of all the posts and all the songs that are being sung and are pushed in the public domain today are not designed to uplift the human soul and the spirit. And these guys are deliberately pumping in content every day into that space. It then becomes more important for us to also look at it and start creating and pumping in content as well that will build the human spirit. I have something in my notes here that technology is a tool for skill. If you look at the way technology works, typically, technology helps you to scale whatever you have so that you can reach more people. For example, if you had a small business in a small house, with technology, you can scale that business and reach 2 million people. If your church facility can take, say, 1,000 people, with technology, I was watching a live stream of Elon Musk the other day. He had about 170,000 people watching. Right? We can't fit 10,000 people into this auditorium, but we can have 10,000 people watch us on YouTube. That's what technology does. And if we do not take that power and use it for good and for the gospel, we will be doing a disservice to the kingdom of God. One thing is that Satan and his entourage, they are constantly pumping death, right, into the health space. And they are scaling rapidly with tech. I remember before churches started using the internet, pornography was all over the internet. Then if you went to cyber cafes, as you opened the computer, the first set of things that would jump at you are porn adverts. And it's interesting to note that these guys have been taking advantage of technology as far back as 10, 15 years ago, before the church even caught on to it. So we need to really begin to deliberately bombard that space with the gospel of Jesus. And it's technology that can help us to do that. And the reason why this is important is because each one of us has a role in our local church. And I want to talk about our role. If we were to look at the organogram of the church, the way I see it is that Jesus is our CEO, right? The Holy Spirit is CEO, is the one that makes the things happen. And people don't believe me when I say it, but your pastor is the general manager. Now, one thing is that our CEO is always there. Our CEO is the one that makes things happen. But every time we put all the pressure on the general manager, who is our pastor. We think our pastor should be the one to get everything for us, make sure everything is done, and all of that. And I really think that's not fair. And we'll talk about that in a bit. So our role in our local assembly does not just end with the light and the sound. Our role in our local assembly really is to look at the problems that are in our local assembly and trying to figure out how we can use technology to solve it. Because we are the tech people. Our pastors are not, the choir are not, the ushers are not. In fact, our role is to help figure out how we can use technology to make their work better and scale whatever it is they are doing. So it's not just for you to do sound and cameras. Our work is beyond that. And we need to begin to think like that. So this is why I call it a job. For me, I always say that for me, it's like a second job, full-time job. Because and for one thing with jobs is that every job pays a salary, it pays wages. The Bible says in Luke 10:7 that a laborer is worthy of his wages. There are so many instances that is mentioned in the Bible. Even though some of us are really volunteers, the church doesn't pay us. But the truth is we get paid. And our job is largely paid spiritually in other ways that might not be as tangible as we think. But trust me, you also get paid tangibly. It's just that it might not come directly from your church. I have so many testimonies personally. So, with that being said, if our job is spiritual, then that means we cannot joke with our spirituality as tech people. You know, in church most times, most of us are very busy running around with this and that. And we forget that at the end of the day, it's our spirituality that really matters. So, and I often tell tech people that yes, during church service, you are busy serving, you're busy doing work. But at the end of the day, you must understand that your growth might not happen in that service. In fact, for everyone, your growth would happen after the service, which is when you begin to spend time praying, listening to that message that was preached in service over and over again, spend time engaging in spiritual activities. That is when we really begin to grow. And if we don't grow in our spirituality, it will be difficult for us to do our jobs since the job is spiritual. So this is very important. And one of the things that I would also like to talk about is spiritual. We also need to be professional. During church service, and this is something that I always joke with, that you never see camera guys fall under the anointing. No matter how strong the anointing is, the camera guys are always standing. Although, sometime in our church recently, pastor called us and some camera guys just left the camera and just went to the front. I'm like, you know? And one thing we need to understand is that our own role in that service is different from every other person sitting in the auditorium. And everybody has to play their role. Remember, you have a job. You have a COO and a CEO who is watching what you're doing. And they are going to reward you for that work. So, in order for you not to miss your reward, you must do your job and you must do it optimally. So, let's continue. I think I've digressed a bit from my point. All right. So, your role with your team. You become the best versions of themselves. Spiritually, economically, physically, intellectually, in every way. Because the truth is, the more they become better, the better the results they're able to deliver. The better creative they are, the faster they're able to think and come up with solutions. And it just makes the work much easier. So it's not always about pushing them to do more work. How are they growing as individuals? What are the practical things that they are learning that are affecting their lives as they are a part of that team? You know, that is one thing that we must not forget. Then another thing that we also need to understand
Recording stopped.
is that a lot of our pastors, I can bet you that the reason why you are in your church is because your pastor preaches very good
Recording
gospel.
in progress.
He preaches very good gospel. But how many people are hearing him? How are you ensuring that message is reaching out as many people as possible? Because I think it's unfair and it's stinginess if your pastor is preaching fire and not many people are hearing it. Yet when the band releases a new song or whatever, we start sharing it with our friends. You know, these are the things that technology can help us to do. And we often think that it is the job of our pastors to do these things. It's not. If it was the job of the pastors, then God wouldn't call you into the church to come and help him. Right? So, it's important that we note these things. A lot of pastors are frustrated today because a lot of the team members in the church are not doing what they're supposed to do. If all tech people in every church, I'm not even talking about the other units now. If all the tech people in every church are optimal, most pastors will not be frustrated. Because everything that frustrates them most times can be fixed with technology. So that is something that we all need to understand. And that is the role we really have in our local churches. And finally, this is my last point now, is that, and this one is a topic that I always debate with my friends, that the responsibility of growing your church is on you. It's not on your pastor. Do you know why I said that? Remember that I said that technology is a tool for growth. Every business, this is 2022. Any country that has developed very quickly, look at China, look at Singapore, all those countries develop very quickly because of the way they leverage technology in their governments, in businesses, in policies, and all of that. The same thing applies to the church. If the more a church leverages technology, the faster the church can grow. Because a lot of the things that are done manually will then be automated. And once you automate things, you put them up for scale. Right? So, if tech is really a tool for growth, then you as the tech expert in your church, you are an agent of growth in that church. So you need to understand that you have that role and you need to take that role very seriously. Your pastor is not supposed to be thinking of tech. You are lucky if you have a pastor that is tech inclined. Like my pastor, for example, is a techie. Pastor Gbenro is a pastor, but he's a very strong techie. He's even more techie than I am. Right? You are lucky if you have pastors like that. But unfortunately, most of us don't. That's where you come in. I know a lot of people that come to me and they say their pastor don't understand. You try to explain this. They won't understand because that is not their calling. It is your calling. Your job is not to get them to understand. Your job is to do what you're supposed to do. Because if not, you will be frustrated. The pastor will be frustrated. Right? So, sometimes it is not about trying to explain to your pastor. You might burn out and you now get discouraged. And that's another thing that I want to address before I leave. That we also need to understand why we do what we do. I've also had a case where I was in a church in Lagos, and then I was saying that the pastor does not recognize them, pastor does not appreciate them. And then I asked a simple question. Are you doing this because you want the pastor to recognize you or appreciate you? Or you are doing it because it's what is meant to be done? Or it's what you are supposed to do? Because one thing we need to understand is that our job is mostly behind the scene. Most times, people wouldn't even see you. They won't even know how the thing works. If people don't see lyrics up on stage, they start shouting. They don't know what is going on. They don't know what issues you're facing. And they don't care. And it's none of their business. So most times, you're not going to get all those accolades. But you need to decide, do you want the accolades or do you want the blessing? You have to choose one. There was something that happened some time back. My team did something, then my pastor thought it was another team that did it and recognized the team, right? And my team member was like, but we're the one that did it. I was like, did you do it so that pastor can say you were the ones that did it? Or you did it because it was what needed to be done and you'll be blessed for doing it? Because we need to be clear on these things. So if you can have that at the back of your mind, you understand that this our work is not for show. It's not glamorous. Like every Sunday, this is how I dress. Black on black. Literally all of us. We can't wear Ashebi and Babarega and all those things. Suit and tie and look sharp. Your job that's not it. And we need to be clear on these things. And I'm saying this because these are some of the conversations that I've had with a lot of tech people, especially church tech people who understand is, I know a lot of people often have issues with finances from the church, tech teams. I think it happens in every church. You want to buy a new equipment. Church, we need this. Church, we need that. And the pastor is looking at the bank account and I'm like, if we buy this, we won't have service next Sunday. Right? So, because of that, we now also need to understand that sometimes we also have responsibility to figure out how to solve our own problems internally. I think that every tech team should try to figure out how they can be sustainable without finances from their church. It's not impossible. It's something we have tried in our church. Right? And it's not impossible. It's something that can be done. And because we are tech people, we have all the solution. The only thing is we haven't spent time to think about this. You can literally even finance some projects in your church as a tech team, if we have this at the back of our minds. So please, as I wrap up, I would like to just say that our jobs in our church is beyond the basic. We need to start thinking of creative ways to do things. We need to start thinking of how to help our church grow, how to help our church, how to make things easier in the church. It's not, how do you make offering collection easier? You know, it's everything. Technology is supposed to be adapted to everything in church, not just specific areas, not just light, sound, and projection. Right? And I hope, I'm wrapping up now, and I hope that, because we hope that we're going to have this training every year. And interestingly, we decided to have this training for small churches, but most of the registrations that we got, the churches are not small at all. As at the time we were about to start this, we had about 200 people. We thought we were going to have like 20 people and just put them together. But we're going to do this again next year. And I hope that by the time you join this training next year, your church will have grown significantly in impact, in size, and in reach because of some of the things you will do in your local church. You shouldn't wait for your pastor. You shouldn't wait for anybody. Your team has everything it takes to grow your church and even push the growth of the leadership and everything in the church, leveraging technology. That is the fact. And that is the message I have for you today. I hope we'll have a wonderful time, and I'll see you again towards the end of the program. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks to our last speaker for a wonderful session. It was indeed an exciting one. Our next speaker, speaking about the basic tech architecture for small churches, is Lane Havel of Victory World Church, USA. Please make welcome Lane Havel.
Hey there, welcome. Thank you so much for having me today. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Lane Havel. I am working for Victory World Church over in Atlanta, Georgia, here in the US, and I've been invited to talk to you today about basic church architecture. We're going to be covering some areas that maybe most of you know, but for the sake of streamlining the process and understanding foundation level production, where I'm just going to cover a wide gamut. With that being said, my experience, I've been in church production since 2006. I've been in production starting as a volunteer in high school, and then professionally since 2014. From 2016 to 2020, I was a tech director for a mobile church. So we did a lot of setup and teardown, which demanded that our systems were streamlined and simplified and condensed down to one, volunteer-friendly setup, but two, travel-friendly setup. Now I act as the systems director for Victory Church. And so what that basically means is I run the IT side of all of our systems and processes. With that said, I'm going to jump right in. So I'm going to share my screen. I have been disabled from sharing my screen. All right. Then I will simply read my notes and maybe we can get that going. All right. We're going to cover some quick basic principles and, oh, here we go. Stand by. Share my screen. There it is. Thank you very much. And you should be seeing my screen now. Perfect. No, that is the wrong screen. No, that's the right screen. Yes, yes. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. I should have tested that earlier. Okay, so we're going to cover a few quick key terms and concepts. One, it's important to understand that where we are anyway, there are three primary disciplines within the production department. We've got sound, which for us covers the room, it covers the stage, and covers online. So for the room, you have front of house. For the stage, we have in a few of our rooms, at a few of our campuses, we have a dedicated monitor engineer. Basically, that's the person who is mixing for the band on stage or the singers on stage. For us, we use in-ears and wireless packs. In many smaller churches, excuse me, you will see that functionality duplicated at front of house. And so instead of a complete separate soundboard, you have one soundboard that's going to cover the room, is going to cover the wedges down front on the stage so that the band and the worship singers can hear themselves for reference. And then we also have an online audio console station, and for our primary campus. Our secondary campuses will all run their online audio mix from their front of house desk as well. So you have one desk serving in three capacities. So that's audio. For video, we have, it's a completely scalable system. So I started when I was doing my setup teardown campus. We did one camera and a graphics computer, and we just switched back and forth whenever we were making notes. Then we did, when that campus finally settled in a building, we added two more cameras, another computer, and basically that the video is very scalable to the demands of the space. And then you have lighting, which is a whole separate ball game. Lighting helps reinforce video, but it also helps reinforce the environment within the room. So all three disciplines help reinforce each other. They help support each other. Signal flow is a very important concept to understand. I'm going to cover why here in a little bit, but basically that is from point A to point Z, what path is your signal taking? And that's going to be in every single discipline. That's going to be in audio, that's going to be in video, that's going to be in lighting. Service flows. So this is going to be a little bit more where you want to get organized. Being organized in live environments is wildly important. Service flows are, I think one of my companions here is going to talk about planning center. That's what we use, but you can use an Excel document. It's basically a roadmap for your morning. Times, people, topics, all of that fun stuff. Front of house, that is where the sound booth is. So if you are at the sound booth, you are at front of house. That's going to help establish the room orientation. So front of house means you're at the front of the house. So back of that's not a great way of defining that. Front of house essentially is with the orientation of the room. If you're standing on the stage, that's the front of the building. If the wall behind you is back of house, and then you have stage right and you have stage left. If you flip the script, you're still at front of house, but then you have house right, house left, so on and so forth. IMAG, that is just image magnification. So if you are using a camera and projecting onto a screen, you are magnifying an image. If you're taking a slide from a computer and you're putting it on screen, you are magnifying that image. So that's IMAX.
Thanks to our last
So with those
speaker
things
for a
in mind, we're just going to jump in real
wonderful
quick, and we're on video and lighting, a
Our
basic flow.
next
Then we're going to
speaker.
smash them together, and we're going to see how complicated things can get very quickly. And then we will talk about some best practices. So, sound. You have input and you have output. That's going to be the case for every single discipline. Your speakers are going to be, oh, yay. So your speakers are your destination. They're what allow the room to hear. They're what allows your audience to hear, whether they're in the room, if they're online, or if they're on the stage. The speaker is just your destination. Depending on if you have active or passive speakers, you'll have an amp. So in my example here, we have passive speakers, and it basically just means that your speaker does not have onboard power. So you can't plug it into a wall to turn it on. It needs a separate device, which is an amp, to help give it power while giving it the signal. That signal is coming from your audio console, and your audio console is obviously where you're mixing all of your channels, all of your signals, and then your signals, all of your inputs it's going to be whatever you have in the room. You can have one microphone, you can have one microphone and a keyboard, you can have 5 microphones and a djembe. It's really whatever you're mixing with, whatever the band brings, all of that fun stuff. Snake. So a snake is essentially, for the sake of my example, we have 5 inputs. Let's pretend like they're all on stage. Well, instead of running 5 cables, 5 XLRs or 1/4 inches from the stage to the soundboard, we have a little box, and that box has ports on it, and it basically runs a thicker cable, one thick cable versus 5 to 10 to 20 smaller cables from the stage to front of house. And then obviously input devices is anything that's giving you a signal. So that's an instrument, that's a microphone, or a computer. Okay, moving forward to video. Again, these are very simplified, condensed down. We have not unpacked anything yet. Key components, we've got video input devices. That's going to be cameras, computers. There are DJ devices that can give you signals, stuff like that. Video servers. You have video switchers. So that's, for the sake of my example, this device here in the middle. So what that does is it takes my 3 devices, kind of like a soundboard. It takes my 3 devices and gives me the option of selecting any of them to put on screen. A router is a component. Once you start getting into more inputs and more destinations, that is a device in your system that allows you to tell your switcher signal to go to your hallway TVs, your projector screens, to your broadcast campus, to your satellite, or your online feed. It's essentially just a routing table. Video output devices, so that's going to be TVs, projectors, LED walls, anything that you are putting your video feed on that surface. Additional components we want to keep in mind as we move forward are embedders and de-embedders. So for these 2 examples, our audio and our video are acting in completely isolated systems. And so they don't really play yet. So an embedder takes those 2 different signals and pushes them together so that you can put them at a destination that will do both audio and video. For example, a computer or an online stream. So what we do is we take our video feed and our audio feed and we smash them together in our embedder, and we push that to our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, our website, so on and so forth. Video recording devices. So we use a lot of, we have redundancy. So we have digital recording. So that's our embedder offers cloud storage. So anytime I'm pushing a signal online, that is automatically recorded. We have physical recording. So we use Blackmagic Teradex. Forgive the name, I didn't make it up. But basically I can take a hard drive, I can pop it in, I can hit record, and then it'll record whatever I tell it to. And then video encoders. So this is going to be the device that takes all of our fun stuff that's happening in the room and turns it into a streamable signal to push online. And you can establish where you want it to go, when you want it to go, any number of settings. A free example of that, I think, again, my associate next is going to be talking about it, but OBS is one of the ones that we use in the field. Lighting, we're not going to do too much here. We're going to keep it very simple. Key components here are going to be your lighting console, your lighting fixtures, and then your DMX cables that chain everything together. Simple functionality, your lighting console is just telling everything to turn on, turn off, look up, look down, turn blue, turn green, turn red. And in every case for lighting, your fixtures daisy chain together, which is basically, as my graphic here suggests, they just keep, the first one catches the signal and then pushes it to the next one, which pushes it to the next one, which pushes it to the next one until the end of the line. The more lights you have, the more complicated it gets. There are basic lighting consoles where you just have 5 channels and they all just turn on and off, all the way up to the machines that are essentially fancy computers that run the whole gamut of your system. Okay, so we kind of touched on everything. Here's our roadmap, okay? So this is where it's really important to start understanding signal flow as a big idea. Because, as you can see, we've got a lot of lines, and they are all kind of going everywhere. For tech directors, for people who are in the seat of lead production volunteer, for people who are just walking in the building as a volunteer, understanding this roadmap, understanding how signal flow works, is a game changer. Whenever I first start working with a volunteer, I like to introduce our production systems and signal flow as a very fancy game of connect the dots. If you understand what is connecting to where and what path it's taking, you will understand how it functions, you'll understand why it functions, and when things inevitably break, you will understand where to look on how to fix it. So that said, for basic church architecture, this is what we're looking at. We'll start with sound. Obviously, you have a soundboard. You'll have any number of inputs. Generally speaking, we have our stage inputs, which we connect to a snake. Route that to the soundboard. We have a front of house computer, which we will use for local audio playback. That'll be anything from music to video audio. Then we will push that sound to a number of places. You can push that to your speakers overhead. So that'll first hit the amp in my example, because I'm using passive speakers. If you're using active speakers, you don't need that amp. You just send your signal straight to your speaker. I'm sending my audio signal to an embedder, which is going to help get that signal to my encoder, which is going to push it online. And then I didn't put it in here because for this example, my soundboard is also running the monitor mixes, but you could add another audio console on stage. That's where things get very complicated because you have to tell the two boards to talk to each other. They have to have a reference point, so the snake doesn't go to a soundboard at that point. It goes to a brain, and that brain talks to the different consoles. But again, for the sake of basic church architecture, this is what we're looking at. You're going to have a third output, which is essentially your monitor mix, your wedges coming from your soundboard. Lighting, again, very simple setup. Not a whole lot going on in this particular example. My lighting console is just controlling my front lights, which is what we're using to illuminate our inputs, which can be singers or bandmates, whatever it is. Switching over to video, we have, again, more inputs and outputs. So your input devices are going to be your two cameras. You could technically hook up this computer as well. And then that's going to hit the switcher. The switcher is sending it to two destinations in this example. The first destination is going to be your projector or TVs or video walls, basically your device that you're using to output your signal. And then it's also sending to the embedder. So this is where that happy marriage of audio and video happens. And And then those hit the encoder, and the encoder sends it online through software, through hardware, however, whatever path you choose to take. Again, these are general ideas, general terms to understand the basic route we're going to take. All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to move on to best practices. I'll be around for the Q&A later in case anybody has any burning questions. But best practices. One, know your system. It's very important to read your manuals, very important to understand not only in the context of what you are using your equipment for immediately, but what you can use it for in the future. With budget constraints, with limited supply right now, it's very important to understand what hoops can I make my gear jump through, what is possible, what is not possible. System maintenance, care and repair. If you see somebody hovering over your sound console with a drink, best to shoo them off. But also dust can accumulate, so you'll want to blow out your gear, wipe it down, make sure it's not sticky. You want to take care of your stuff so that it lasts for you as long as possible. Troubleshooting, signal flow is your friend. Again, at the top, I mentioned signal flow. In the middle of this, I mentioned signal flow. At the end of this, I'm going to mention signal flow. Signal flow is going to be the way you figure out where your problems are. If your camera is on and it's sending video signal to your switcher, and your switcher is on and you are getting a signal to your projector, but you are not getting a signal to your embedder, you know that somewhere between the embedder and your switcher is a problem. Generally, it's a loose cable or somebody unplugged something. You know, not end of the world scenarios, but every now and then maybe your embedder went bad. Well, great. We need to figure out the option to fix that now. So understanding signal flow, understanding your roadmap, coupled with understanding your gear, is going to set you up for the greatest amount of success in terms of volunteer care and your own mental well-being. Getting organized. So order of service, that's planning center, that's show flow, that's an Excel document that you just keep in your computer so that you aren't overwhelmed trying to understand how the day is supposed to go. But basically making sure that you are organized so that you can help manage and lead your teams so that nobody is stressed the morning of. And that does speak to volunteer care. And finally, and probably one of the most important for me, is stuff breaks, don't freak out. A computer's going to crash in the middle of service. Pray it doesn't, anoint it that it doesn't, don't anoint it, that would be bad. Pray over it that it doesn't, but eventually technology fails. That's the nature of the beast. When that happens, don't freak out. Take a breath. Understand that you now have a problem that you need to solve, and everybody is looking at you to understand how they need to react for it. So if you are, you're stressed, you're perhaps frustrated, take a second to breathe so that your volunteer understands, okay, not time to freak out. I'm going to continue doing what I need to do so that he can figure out how to best address this situation and handle the scenario. Which leads me to production as a ministry. So this is something that, culturally speaking, we're going to see some differences here. Here in the U.S., one of the challenges is building and establishing community within a production department. And so we're all busy on Sunday morning. We're all active on Sunday morning. And that said, we all have jobs to do. Ololade mentioned it in his tee up earlier that we're in the groove. So where do we find time to find Jesus? And so for us, that answer is midweek. And so we have a team of volunteer leaders and staff leaders who are calling our production volunteer. We're in their lives. We are in the process of starting a chat group for our global teams. So everybody from every campus is invited. And so once that gets off the ground, we're hoping to see huge success in that so that we can daily integrate in everybody's lives instead of relying on events or lunches or coffees, so that we can establish better relationship and rapport. So, and that's going to be wildly important for small churches, because most of the time your volunteer leader is just one person, and how are they, with a full-time job and their own set of responsibilities, how are they supposed to care for everybody? So all of that is a good introduction to basic church production. That's a good start on your roadmap. I hope it has been helpful for you. And that is all I have. So thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Much Lane for that session. Looking forward to hearing more from you in the Q&A session. We will be going for a short break now. I will display a countdown. welcome from your break. I am certain you were able to recharge your batteries as I was. Great. Now to the next agenda. Our next speaker is Demola Adeogun of the Covenant Nation, Nigeria. Please make welcome Demola Adeogun.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I believe you can all hear me. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Just want to clarify from the admin that am I live right now at the moment? Because at some point I was not hearing what's going on in-house. Am I live at the moment, please? I need a confirmation. All right. Okay, great. Thank you very much once again for this opportunity. First and foremost, I would like to start by saying that for everybody that is in this call, virtually, online, and physically, that is a technical team or a media team in the church, I want you all to stand up on your feet if you can hear me, because I can't really hear what's going on in-house at the moment. But I want you to stand up on your feet and give yourself a round of applause for the great things that you are doing for your church. So please, if you're in the auditorium, if you're online, please let's just give ourselves a round of applause, because like it was being said that we are responsible for a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes, and we don't do this for the accolade. We do this for receiving the blessing and making things work basically for the kingdom. For those times that you have grinded overnight, for those times that you have edited video all night because it's going to be displayed first thing on Sunday morning, those announcements that you've edited, for the sound guys that have run sound cables overnight because of the event is the next day, stand up, give yourself a round of applause as we celebrate the grace of God in our lives, as we celebrate every amazing thing that God has done for us. For people that have made those magic work behind the scene, I want you all to give yourself an amazing round of applause as we celebrate Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords in our life, for his wisdom, for his grace, for doing those mission impossible. I believe that some of us are still going to be doing those mission impossibles tomorrow. I know that some of us have been given some Herculean tasks that we are supposed to make happen, and we keep delivering every Sunday. We give God the glory, we give God the praise. All right, so you can all have your seats as we celebrate ourselves. So thank you once again, Holyhill Church, for this opportunity. Thank you for the media team. The first speaker, basically, Havel, has touched bases to some of the things that I'm going to be discussing, and he has laid a solid foundation, basically, for me to build on. So I'll try as much as possible not to be touching some of the areas that he has focused on, and I'm going to be trying to concentrate on some other areas. Now, another thing I'm going to be doing right now is that based on the context of the nature of small church that we have in Nigeria, I'm going to be sharing an architecture basically what's for us at the moment, and I'm going to be doing what we call toning it down a little bit, you understand, to other equipment or other alternative equipment that can work for small churches. Now, I know that some churches that are available in this place right now, or some media team members that are available, might not be able to afford some of the equipment that we're discussing or we're going to be sharing. But one thing I can assure you is that the reason why you're attending some of this meeting is to see some of the things you have to look up to. Then I will also try as much as possible to get alternative equipment that are affordable, that can also work with you temporarily while you work towards getting what we call a larger budget. Now, I'm not going to be talking too much on softwares. We have somebody else that is going to be coming in on board to basically handle that shortly. So I'm going to be sharing my screen shortly. Admin, I believe that I've been given the permission to do that. And at some point, I'm going to be doing a little bit of scripts. I have 30 minutes to do this so that we can achieve something amazing today. Okay. All right. Just give me a minute while I share my screen. Sorry about that. I should have tested this earlier. Let's have a minute of technical issues. Share screen. The sharing of screen doesn't work. I might at some point switch basically to my notes. Let me just try it one more time. All right. Okay, so please can you see my screen? Okay, so I believe we're good. So I'm going to just be introducing myself a little bit. My name is Demola Adeogun. In church, I basically handle the display media, but I'm also a media consultant. As a tech professional, I'm a graphic artist, web design, front-end developer, UI UX professional, graphic artist, digital marketing professional, and I basically also handle training. All right, but in media, like a lot of people here, I've been doing this. A lot of people here have been doing this since the university. I think most people got their passion for working for God, especially the media department, basically from the university, in which it now translated to me as a career, and beyond just a career, I also do it basically for church. So I'm in the media team of the Covenant Nation, Pastor Kojirimadi, and basically the section that I handle is majorly display media. So for churches that are here, small churches that are here, the various categories of departments that I recommend that a small church should have can be categorized as the following. And I'm going to highlight it and break it down now. Your church structure and your media structure doesn't have to be this way. Some of these structures can basically be meshed together and handled together. But when you specify some of these departments or you give them specific tasks, it makes things easier. So you can get your pen and your diary and write. The departments can be categorized it doesn't also have to follow this particular order. It's peculiar in various churches and environments, and obviously infrastructure and availability of people that can handle some of this responsibility. So I always recommend that you have what we call a camera department that is basically singularly responsible for camera. Basically, then we have sound, which is also obviously very important. Then I always prefer them separating what we call the display media team, who are basically responsible for what's being projected on stage. And some of the in-house experience, especially if there's a mega screen. Then also we also have live stream. Then I also always recommend that you have what we call the social media team. Now this can also be subdivided into other departments based on availability of what hands that can handle this. But these are the basic departments that can be that are available at a church. Sorry for the noise in my background. I have a farm close to my house right now, so sorry for that. Hen or cock that's calling. Okay, so having
Hello, can everybody hear me? All right. Please, we are trying to get Demola back on. Demola also he's having a little network issue at his place as well. So Demola will be back up in a few minutes. Once Demola is back up, we'll bring him back on the screens. Thank you very much. We apologize for the break in transmission. We'll be back shortly. Please just give us a few moments. Thank you.
explaining basically, I believe that my screen is being shared right now before the little break in transition. That's for small churches basically in this part of the world, based on the nature of the availability of volunteers. I always recommend that the various portion of your team should be split into the following section or departments, which can be meshed together and handled basically by multiple people. And basically what I always recommend is that the departments should be as follows. Number one, we should have camera and lights. We should have camera and lights. And all right, thank you for projecting my screen. We should basically have what camera and lights. We should have sound, we should have display media, we should have live stream, and basically we should have what social media. Those are the basic departments. I would still keep to the time allotted to me so that we can have other speakers handle other section. Now, another thing I basically want to emphasize upon as regards media in small churches is preparation. Now, the reason why media, this particular section is basically important for media in small churches is that because of the nature and the peculiarity of what small churches are. Now, when we're talking about small churches, we're talking in the context of the size. In the house of God, there's really no what small church. You get what I'm saying right now. But two things are basically important I'm going to be highlighting on. I'm going to be highlighting on one, service experience, and I'm also going to be highlighting on what's on preparation. Now, preparation is very key and can be split into three categories, which a lot of us already practice. We have pre-service, service, and post-service preparation. Now, pre-service preparation is ensuring that all your equipment are working. Lane has emphasized on knowing your equipment and all your infrastructure. Now, because of the peculiarity of most churches, most small churches either always on board or reboard. They always dismantle or mantle or recouple back the equipment together based on which kind of center they are in. So preparation is what very, very key. You and I know that if you are very, very prepared, the ability of there being unnecessary running around is not there. So based on the peculiarity of your church, please, this is what's very, very what's important. Ensure that what you are always prepared for every service, even down to the lyrics, down to the script that is going to be done. Ensure that you have what we call what's proper planning when it comes to what preparation. Then for service, always ensure that you have what we call backups or backups. Do you get what I'm saying right now? Irrespective of the nature or the peculiarity of your equipment. You and I know that sometimes, you get what I'm saying right now, you can be using a splitter, and that splitter during the service will start giving what we call a funny smell. If you are there, come on, put your hands up and just wave. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? So usually, I always advise all media team that always have what various case scenarios that you've already what's prepared for in-service what preparation. But the last part is what we call post-service what preparation. Now, this is one thing that at this a lot of churches we don't really plan for. It's very, very key. Based on whichever department you're in, the post-service preparation is also what's very, very key. Meaning, after the service, which snippets are we taking out for social media? Which videos are we cutting to put online? Based on the recording that we've recorded in live stream, when are we playing it? Where are we uploading them to? Are we uploading them to the websites? Are we uploading them on MixLR? Are we uploading them on YouTube? Some of these things need to be carefully thought out. You understand what I'm saying right now? One thing we know is that we serve what we call a God of excellence, and not just in production, we have to also operate excellently. Now, having said that, I'm also going to be narrowing down right now to the structure of a basic church. Now, this structure I'm giving, Lan has elaborated it basically in the context of standard equipment. You understand what I'm saying right now? And he has spoken about cables, he has spoken about signals, but I'm going to be explaining the charts that I have here, but I'm also going to be streamlining it to what we call alternate equipment that you can work with as a church. Do you get what I'm saying right now? So meaning that what we have here is standard, right? What the speaker before me has spoken about is standard, but I'm also going to be demystifying it and breaking it down to other equipment that you can use that can work for your own specific case scenario. Now, during question and answer, I'm going to be taking more of this as we go on. So let me just be brief. Let me just try as much as possible to. Oh, sorry. Let me try as much as possible to break down what we call what the charts that I have here as much as possible. Now, I'm going to be using a pen to just draw so we can basically understand. So these are various case scenarios that we can have what's in a small church, in a standard small church. Do you get what I'm saying right now? And I'm also now going to break it down to what various alternatives. Now, when you're planning your media, Lan has focused on a lot of this concerning that, but you need to understand that we always have what we call what's two section. Are you getting me now? When it comes to what experiences. Now, when it comes to experiences can be categorized into what we call what in-house experience and what we call what external experience. So in-house experiences are the experiences that have been experienced what we call what internally. Do you get what I'm saying right now? From the sound to scriptures, then we also have what we call what external what experiences or global experiences based on the context in which the church has grown to because of the lockdown. So you need to do what we call what proper planning for what we call what your global experiences and what you call what your in-house experiences. Now your in-house experiences is totally different from what is being what experienced what externally. That's globally. Now when I mean globally, I mean on social media, and I also mean basically what online. So let's talk about what we call what in-house experiences. The structure that we have is in-house experience, and I'm also now going to focus on what we call what on global experiences, which is very key. Now, in in-house experiences, a standard small church should have the following, which will majorly be beside the altar. It should have what we call what two screens. So I'm going to be circling it down right now. The two screens can be what we call what a 55-inch television. That's what I always recommend. 32 is always what's too small, or a projector or a mega screen. One thing you need to understand that as media, what we do basically when it comes to in-house experience is that we aid what we call what worship. Now we aid what we call worship by giving people experiences of what's going on stage, giving people experiences of what the choir is singing, and we also what project lyrics. Why? Because we are in Africa and we have what various languages. Projecting lyrics is always very, very key. I've been to some churches, example Christ Embassy, and when I entered, irrespective of the fact that Christ Embassy is a church in Nigeria, I follow Pastor Chris. When I entered their service, I didn't understand most of their songs. Are you getting me? Which affected my experiences. So it's very important that we project what we call what lyrics. Now, what I have here is what we call what a video mixer or a switcher. Like Lan says, with 200,000 naira, you can get a very cheap one. Then there are some that are being sold for what 150, right? You can get that can work basically what's for you. Another thing you can use here is that you can use what we call what a switcher. Now the difference between what a mixer and a switcher is that what in which okay now they are both switchers, but when I use the word switcher, I use the word switcher in the context of a mixer would help you mix both video and audio, which you'll be able to see on a display screen. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? Which is what I have here, an HDMI monitor. But a switcher is just a box that you can use to switch in between various channels. Now the difference between a mixer and a switcher is that you can see your display, and switching is always very seamless, and you can program a lot of effect basically on it. But a switcher is just a manual switching where there's a 2 seconds delay. A lot of us might know what it is, but if you don't know what it is, just take note of it and just search online. Now the reason I'm bringing in a switcher as an example, which is a smaller equipment, is because of for small churches. So if you cannot afford a mixer, you can just get either a metric switcher, and you get me now. They are 4x1, they are 4x2, they are 4x4, meaning that 4 HDMI inputs, 1 HDMI output. So you can actually buy that. They're actually a bit much more cheaper than what we call a mixer. That's what we have here. So as a small church, you should have what we call a camera. It's usually always alpha, beta, gamma. That's what we usually limit over here. And you get me, that is being connected using SDI or HDMI to what we call your mixer. Then you should have what we call a laptop. This laptop is for what we call your display team. Now your display team is responsible for projecting on the screen. So now I spoke about this. Always a display department. A display team basically use softwares like Easy Worship, Pro Presenter, Video Sam, Media Shout. I'm sure that in the auditorium, a lot of people are already crossing other softwares that you use. Even PowerPoint, as long as it displays, are you getting me now? It's a display screen. But in this part of the world, it's Pro Presenter, Easy Worship, Media Shout. You can cross the remaining ones that you guys know and you work with basically what's in your church, basically. someone's going to be handling the software section, and it's going to be talking about that. Now, from here, you should have what we call an output that goes to what we call your recorder. Your recorder is your video recorder, where you basically record into your system what is basically what's going on. Then we have what we call an output to what we call your online team. That's what I explain as what we call the external stream. I named it webcast here. Then obviously you have your output basically to the screen. Now, having said that, obviously for the audio guys that are here, the audio guys basically have their own basic setup. They have what we call their audio mixer, which is connected to an amplifier. Then it goes to the speaker. Then obviously you're also receiving and pushing sound to the stage, which also goes to the monitor. But there should also be a return feed of sound from your mixer into what we call a sound card. And you get what I'm saying right now. That also goes to the webcast. The webcast are basically what's pushing out. Also, your display team here, and you get what I'm saying right now. They also have audio jack that also sends sound either to the sound console or to the mixer based on the mixer that you basically have. Do you get what I'm saying right now? For your screen, you can use an LED, a mega screen, or a projector based on basically what works for you. You understand? Now, for some smaller churches who cannot afford a camera, or they cannot afford a mixer, what most of them basically do is that they just have what we call a laptop that projects into what we call a splitter that goes into the screen. Then the audio department is separate. If that's what works for you, please do it. You are focusing more on the in-house experience, even though you don't have camera. The most important thing is that you are aiding what we call worship. That is what's key and very important. Now, having said that, I'm trying to round up and ensure that I stick strictly to my time. You also need to work on what we call the external experience. Now, the external experience is very key and is very crucial. And this basically has to do with what we call your live stream. Now, someone is going to be coming after me to talk about various softwares you can use for live stream. Now, that's this webcast that we have over here. Now, for the webcast, the experience that is going on inside might be different from the experience that is going on outside. For example, for your projector, if you are doing full screen scriptures, you understand, for your projector, for the online experience, you might need to switch to lower touch. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? If you're using software like Pro Presenter, that's always easy to cascade. You understand what I'm saying right now? Based on splitting what we call it, based on different layers, what is being projected internally and what's being projected externally. That's one. So you need to remember what I spoke about earlier on. They have to go and call pre-service, service, and post-service. And the pre-service, service, and post-service also is important for what we call the in-house experience and what we call the external experience. You guys need to sit down and plan. Based on our software, what are we projecting online? Are you getting what I'm saying right now? Now, for your webcast, they will be receiving camera feed, and they will also be receiving a display feed. Are you getting me now? Now, depending on the software you use, now some churches use what we call OBS, some churches use what we call vMix, some churches use what we call Wirecast. Are you getting on right now? OBS is a free software. Are you getting the Wirecast and vMix? We all know how we get it. I'm online, so please don't allow me to say what I'm not supposed to say. So I won't be arrested. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? But we know how we get those softwares. All right. Having said that, but don't worry, someone will come and teach you how to get other software that can work for you really simply. Now, with those online softwares and basically those online applications, you can basically push your content in on social media, both Facebook, Twitter, or you can use multi-stream services to push into various multiple platforms. Now, I believe that by now, based on what happened during the lockdown, no church should be arguing whether it's important or not to go online. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? Now, most churches struggled because they didn't have this architecture or they were not prepared to go online. And you and I know that what's going online right now is now very, very cheap and very inexpensive. During the question and answer, I'm going to be addressing more cheaper ways in which you can project online. There are a lot of free services that you can have, even though you don't have cameras and you don't have camera and you want to go online. You can go online on Mixlr. Are you getting that? Mixlr is an audio streaming channels that can help you push your content audio. Do you get what I'm saying right now? So irrespective of whichever demography or whichever location your church is, you basically don't have any excuses. I hope we are all taking note of some of these things that we are mentioning so you can download them and study them and understand some of these equipment basically and work towards getting them. Now, having said that, it's very, very important that you prepare for your external community, whether you're uploading on YouTube, whether you're uploading on MixLR, whichever channel you're uploading on, please have what we call a proper plan for them so that they will have what we call a beautiful experience. Because the beauty about when it comes to being online is that nobody cares the structure of your church inside. Once you are online, there's an expectation that they expect of you. There's a global standard that they expect of you. Do you get what I'm saying right now? And I can tell you that with small equipment, you can achieve those global standards. Do you get what I'm saying right now? So with just one camera facing your pastor is good enough. You don't have to have multi-channel cameras that you have mixing. Do you get what I'm saying right now? And you do something very, very fantastic. Do you get me? So don't wait until you have that massive equipment to go online. It is very key. It's very important. We are what's propagating the gospel. Now I'm going to be rounding up with this last slide. And there's a very important reason why I want to round up with this last slide. I'm going to round up with the word called content, what is key. Now, what I try to do is I try to break down some of the things that Alan said into what we call small local churches. I've also told you about what we have two experiences, in-house experience and we have global experience. When you get back to your church on Sunday after service tomorrow, you guys need to sit down, review your in-house experience, and you get what I'm saying right now, and see how you can make it better for your global space. If you guys don't have anything that is going on online right now, sit down. Are you getting in as a media team and start planning how you can rejig your online presence? It's very key. It's very, very crucial. Now, having said that, I'm going to be finalizing by emphasizing on what we call content is key. As media professional and as a church, we need to understand the fact that in the church age, in the history of time, are you getting what I'm saying right now? The church has always been a pioneer as regards using latest technology to propagate what we call the gospel. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? Jesus Christ during his time went to Sermon on the Mount to have what we call a good acoustic when he was preaching the gospel so that 5,000 people can hear him. You don't understand that the reason why he went to a mountain was because he had lots of people and he wanted to get what we call good acoustic. Some people will understand what I'm saying. That's why he taught the Sermon on the Mount. On the Mount. Do you get what I'm saying right now? Paul, during his time, during his missionary journeys, he leveraged on various technological media. And you get what I'm saying right now to propagate the gospel. The early church were known for writing letters because that was what the media technology was of their time. Guys, we need to understand the fact that our global experience is majorly our responsibility. Our pastors have given us content, which is the word of God. Our choir have given us content, which is their worship. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? The drama department, we need to start creating concepts for them to create content online. Why? Because what everybody is after when it comes to creating products online is what we call attention. That is what very, very key. And what makes attention matter is what we call content. What kind of content are you preparing for your pastor online? What kind of content are you guys sitting together to prepare for the global space? We all sit down and we complain about a lot of some of this content that is being pushed. The question is, as a church, what content are being pushed? Are we leveraging on latest technology that are already at our disposal to push the gospel? Do you get me now? This is solely the responsibility of the media department. It is our responsibility to come up with concepts, to come up with technology. I have the privilege to work with advertising agency. I know strategies that is being put together to push organizational products. We also need to create extra time, even though we are volunteers, to gather concepts to push and leverage on latest technology to get what we call content, which is key. The Bible was one of the first book that was published massively. That's the Gutenberg Bible, leveraging on the media in their time. So it's high time we start leveraging on the media in our time to propagate the gospel. And we have those contents already. And that is very, very key. Do you understand what I'm saying right now? Why is that as a church? CNN is beating us to start using virtual goggles to start pushing out news. Some months back, years ago, like 2 years ago, even I don't want to mention the name, but we are media guys. Pornographic websites are now on virtual reality. Do you get what I'm saying right now? How many churches are leveraging on virtual realities you get to push the gospel? It's high time we start leveraging on the technology of our time to push the gospel by churning out the right content. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? There are a lot of messages that people need in the world that have not been attended to. The Gen Zs, what works for them is what is content. Are you getting it? Things like suicidal, things like frustration, things like what depression, things like drug addiction. The solution of all these things is in the church. The pastors have talked about those things. You need to push it out in a very what I call it, appealing way to them. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? Are you getting what I'm saying right now? Man is a spirit, he has a soul, he lives in the body. There are 5 channels basically to a man. I'm rounding up. 5 channels to the mind of a man. Now, when I'm speaking about content is key and I'm speaking about attention, the 5 channels are what? Our eyes, which is our senses, our nose, which is smell, mouth, which is taste, ears, which is hearing. Are you getting that? And touch, which is what we touch. Do you understand what I'm saying right now? And the media is responsible for sight and responsible for ears. Now, those 2 channels are the channels in which it doesn't need permission to get to your mind. That is why, as a Christian, and I believe everybody in the auditorium and now online in Nigeria will know this song. Olololo, Olololo, Bugaon. It's a trending song that is happening in Nigeria. You see, no matter how much you wash your heart, you will know that song. Why? Because it's a content that is being pushed out there. And without permission, when you scroll on social media, that song gets to your mind. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? So the world or the devil are pushing content to capture the human mind. What content are we pushing? Do you get me now? I think there's a Christian group called Anora that begin to push Christian comedies, Christian skits. And I laugh whenever I watch some of their skits. I know some of us know them. So let's start pushing what? Content from our pastor's message, content, are you getting what I'm saying right now, that would be scintillating, that would be sensational to the eyes and to the ears, and will be relevant what? For the Gen Z demography. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? With all the content that we basically have. Do you get what I'm saying right now? Now, this is to basically what we call explain what I mean by the external what experiences. So the external experiences, the post-service experiences goes beyond just what the message or the experience that happened in church. It goes to what the media team sitting down, drafting out strategies on how they can preach the word of God to the Gen Z, to our generation, by leveraging on media. Thank you very much, and see you guys at the Q&A session. God bless you.
Thank you, Austin, for so much insight. It indeed was a delight to tap from your bank of wisdom. The next speaker would be Gbenro Ogundipe of the Baptizing Church. Gbenro would be speaking on the important software and ideas for small churches. Kindly grab your notepads and your pens as we make welcome Gbenro Ogundipe.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening. Please, I would like us to engage with one another. So please help me help you. Okay? So like the intro said, my name is Gbenro. Most people call me PG. One interpretation might be postgraduate, but actually my name is Pastor Gbenro from the Baptizing Church. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for joining us online. Thank you to Holyhill. Thank you, Ololade. Thank you. Everybody, thank you. Right? I want to get that out of the way. I'll try and make this as engaging as possible. So I'll be talking to you. If you can, please respond to me as well. The sessions are designed as a continuum. So if you've been listening from the beginning, we had Ololade speak to us about how media is a mission, right? And how important it is for us to take on the role that we have as people responsible for propagating the gospel. We also had Lane speak to us about how you design your church system. So he talked, at least if you don't remember anything, you remember he said something about signal flow, right? Okay. Demola just spoke to us about a basic setup. How do you set up a church? What are the equipment? What are the items you need? So I think you guys have gotten some sort of picture so far, right? Don't worry, my own is easy. I'm just here to guide you between now and the Q&A session. So I'll just be talking to you generally about a number of things. We have a unique situation in church media because most of us are self-taught, most of us are self-governing, most of us learnt ourselves. So a lot of us are roughing it and trying our best, right? But here's the fact, right? In the past, if you wanted to watch porn, you would stand up from home, you would go to a video club, you would ask them for the films that they don't want people to see. Then somebody will bring it out from a corner and give you. If you wanted to read a dirty magazine, for example, you would go to people who sold those kind of magazines. Now, what has happened is that every one of us, corruption can find us very easily. If you pick up your phone and you are knowledgeable enough, you can find something inappropriate to watch. And you see, this is where the responsibility falls on us. A lot of people can talk to you about various things. But media people in church, a lot of us don't like to act pastor-like. But we are the pastors of the next generation. We are the people who have the responsibility to take this gospel out. And so every time you read scripture and you see "go ye," you pretend as if it's Chinese, it's not you they are talking to. But it is you they are talking to. And so my job today is to tell you, how can you do it? Do you understand? Mobile devices, TVs, tablets, anything you have now can get online and you can get media. How do we ensure that we are putting our church media out there? Essentially, I'm really happy to be here. Ololade, Holyhill, everybody who has spoken has already shown you one thing. That one, we are here to help. If you need to get started in this media journey, please, if you registered, they would be reaching out to you with content, with materials. You can see the video, you can watch it again and again. I don't want anyone to leave here with a sense that our own case is the baddest and we need help. Help is available, okay? Are we together? Please try and be responding to me, it helps me. So, we are together, right? So, everybody here is from a different church, right? You came from, I was speaking to my brother Deji from RCCG. I know the lady from BGC. I know, various churches. And so the problem we have in Nigeria is not in the number of churches, right? It's that content is not getting where it's supposed to get to. And all of us are in the same army. We are just in different platoons. So some people have camera skills. But some people have the role of streaming, right? And all the people who have come before me have spoken extensively. I don't want to delve into those things. I want to just gist with you small, then we'll do Q&A, and then if you have questions, you can ask me, I would respond. Okay? So, but the second slide on my list, when they told me small church, I said, what is small church? There's no small church, because the mission we've received from God is a global one. There's nothing that has this propensity to grow like the gospel. However, for the sake of this event, let us define a small church together, okay? Now, we all know that in scripture, the original churches started in people's homes, right? They'll go and hang out in Brother Gbenro's house. We all eat together. Next Sunday, we go hang out in Brother Deji's house. We eat all his food. Next day, we go to Sister Vicky's house. We eat all her food. You get what I'm saying? We would preach the word to each other. We would encourage each other. We would pray. Signs and wonders would follow. So that was the nature of the original church. Now, a small church, for the purpose of definition today, is a church that does not have all the resources it needs to do what it wants to do. So it can be people, It can be equipment. I'm just saying resources, okay? So Ololade already mentioned about budgets when he was speaking this morning. But he said something critical, and I hope you took notes. He said that technology helps us to scale. Now, I started, in church from a long time ago, so my case is special. But the last time I had a guest minister and I handled streaming myself, right? We had 12,000 people online. So you can imagine I'm sitting in a room. I have my laptop, one very old Razor. I have a modem. I have one small video mixer. We connected the cameras, ran HDMI cables, just on one small table. We preached to 12,000 people that evening. Now, there is hardly anything in this world that can scale like that. If you stood up in Abuja and decided you want to do Abuja Mega Crusade, to get 12,000 people in, you would need billboards. You would need bus ads. You would need... Do you understand what I'm saying? Point I'm making with this plenty story is that technology helps you to scale. Do you agree? Okay. So, there are plenty open source solutions available to us that allow us to scale. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's what I'm helping you to do today. So, in the old days, you can't afford a video mixer, then you can't participate in scaling, right? Nowadays, everybody can afford, even if it's a small one, right? And there's software you can put on your computer. Then you put capture card on this side, capture card on this side. Your computer becomes a small mixer. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So in the past, you were excluded. But now, you are getting included in the global space, right? What happened with the pandemic is that first there was a huge scarcity of everything, but it kind of leveled the playing field. Churches that didn't used to stream started streaming. Churches that didn't used to have good video quality realized that it was important. Okay? So, and we can't afford to lag behind. Churches have to stay current. Why? We are in the communication business. Our job is to communicate the gospel. So we have to be current. If people are communicating somewhere, you have to go meet them there. Mixler, Twitter, Facebook, you have to be there. A lot of people have spoken about this, but I just wanted to give that general idea that when we say small church, we are talking about resources. Our mission is a Gidigba mission. Are we all together now? Okay, so next slide. So, my first foray into church tech was around 2005. So, me and my friends, funny enough, every one of them is abroad now. We would rent a small projector and bring it to church. Then we had a video switcher. Not mixer, switcher. You connect a laptop to one place, you connect video to one place, then you press it, bah! It will show, the screen will do K. You will see scripture. Then you press it, bah! You go bah! Back to video. So we used to rent it every week, then we bring it to church, and then put it in church. And essentially what we were trying to do is to enhance the worship experience. We wanted people to be able to participate more in the service. Like Demola already said, people would come to church and they wouldn't know the songs you are singing. Imagine a white person comes to, that sounds a bit racist. Somebody of a different ethnicity comes into church and he hears, highest, that is your name. We rababa. She's like, what's going on? Do you understand what I'm saying now? So we realized that a number of people were coming to church and they couldn't participate. So what did we decide to do? Every church needs things to enhance their worship experience. So that's what we started doing. What tech must do in church is to help people focus on God. And now it's relatively common. So what are the things that we typically have in a church? If they can put the slides up, it's fine. One, almost every church has lyrics presentation, right? Do you have it in your church? You do, Abby? Some churches have live streaming. Some churches have a planning system of some sort. Some churches have, almost every church has an audio recording and mastering system. Then most people have a graphics and design system as well. Okay? So, now I want to ask you, what are popular softwares that the big churches, what do they use? Mention their names. Sorry? ProPresenter. Victoria, speak up if you are going to speak. Easy Worship. Video Psalms. vMix. So almost every church has something they use, right? I put a list here: ProPresenter, Planning Center Online, Proclaim, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Audition, Wirecast, vMix, Darkcast, Photoshop, and so on and so forth. This is not supposed to be an exhaustive list. It's just an example, right? Now, all these are designed to enhance your worship experience. And almost every big church has it. And you can get this if you can afford it. Right? So my next slide is a preaching. I will take 1 minute to talk about this. It's a, if they can put it online for the people online, it's a picture of Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean, right? We cannot resort to sinful and illegal means to do God's work. See, there's no justification. Because it means that if you are broke, you can steal a chicken. It's the same thing. That I can't find the software, that's why I decided to take the pirated one. It's the same one. If you can't find food to eat, you will steal yam. Are we together? So for 1 minute, I just want to make all of you feel bad. Those of you who have pirated Easy Worship and all other software in your church, God is watching you. Sort yourself out. Okay, next slide. Don't worry, I'm rounding up already. So, what software can you use for lyrics presentation? There are over 50 free lyrics presentation softwares. I'm going to mention my favorites. Okay? Doesn't mean you can't have your own. But this is the one I like. Okay? So a lot of us started like 8 years ago to use Easy Slides. Easy Slides was an old clone of Easy Worship. The development was slow, but it really worked for us. But the features did not seem to keep up with the times. And so a few years ago, I discovered Video Psalms. Video Psalms is what they use in Holyhill. Video Psalms is what we were using in our church as well. Very good. One of the best features is that you can do on-the-fly editing. So something is on screen, you just realize that your spelling of color, you use 2 U's instead of OUR. You can edit it on screen there, it will change immediately. Video sounds very, very nice. Holyrics. Holyrics is HOLYRICS. Now, this is what we use now in my church. The reason why we like it is that the features are much more. Okay? There's also Zion Works, there's Open Song, there's Quella, and so on and so forth. So plenty free. But my top pick today, I don't know about tomorrow morning when I wake up, is Holyrics. Now, the reason why I like Holyrics, among the many features, is that it's exactly like ProPresenter. So you get all the features of ProPresenter. Now, what should a good lyrics presentation software have? One, it should be easy to type lyrics and show them, right? It should have Bible integrated. It should have the ability to switch between Bibles. It should be able to play video. Because all those times people bring video to play in church. How many of you have experienced it before? They didn't tell you before. Service is starting now. They say, hey, we are playing video. So what a good software will have is that you can put the video directly in and just play it from the software. You don't have to have VLC or something else, because then you have to manage handling the second screen. So this software, Easy Slides, Video Sound, Holyhill, Zionworks, all of them can play video. So I'm just giving you. There's a software called OneStream. I found it also when it was just getting started. I think I paid maybe $100 or $200 lifetime license. There's another software called Video Link. I think I paid $100 lifetime license. Right now, Video Link is about $300 a year. So you get what I'm saying. So anyway, back to my slides. We can go to the live streaming slide. So, live streaming, free software for live streaming. Everybody knows it. Please mention the name. OBS. Okay. So OBS is Online Broadcast Studio or something like that. That's the meaning. But it was launched years ago. It's for streaming. Works perfectly. But it is technically difficult to use. Abi? So if you need to learn to use it, you can stream a whole service and forget to put audio. So you have to learn how to use OBS very well. There's a version of OBS called Streamlabs. I recommend people go and look for it. Streamlabs OBS is built on OBS, but it now has plenty features and plugins. So Streamlabs OBS is kind of OBS's big brother. Same family, but it's more mature. What should we have in a streaming software? It should be light on resources. Because if you don't have money for the software, you very likely don't have money for an expensive laptop, right? And so it should be light on resources. You should be able to adjust the settings so that your streams work well. It should allow you to stream to RTMP sites as well as directly to sites. So you can stream directly to YouTube, to Facebook, or you can stream to a site like others. Next slide. Don't worry, I'm almost done. I have 2 minutes left. Planning. Now, almost every church has a way they plan their things. For now, I don't want to talk about my church. It's shameful. We use Excel. But I know in Holyhill we use Planning Center online. Various churches have various things they use. The truth is that it's very hard to find good, free alternatives to Planning Center. So it's one of the things where you don't have many options. There are 2 I know of, Church Info and CH Meetings. Both of them work. However, Holyrics has a planning center built into it. So it's not as if I'm marketing Holyrics, but for me, it has solved plenty of my problems. One of the things Holyrics does is it allows you to take anonymous questions. So imagine you're having a service and somebody you want to take questions. You can put a barcode on screen, people scan, send the anonymous question, it will appear on the laptop, they go live, it will show on the screen in full screen. So Holyrics works for me. It has Planning Center, you can create people's names, tell them which service they are going to be, and so on and so forth. But it's not as robust as Planning Center online. For design, most churches can use Canva, and you can use GIMP, you can use other things like that. Audio. Free audio recording software. There are 2 popular ones. Audacity, it's free, it works well. A good audio software should allow you to be able to edit audio, delete sounds, remaster, and so on and so forth. The second one is Ocean Audio. Then if you use a Mac, Apple GarageBand is free. It's designed more for making music, but recording audio on it also works perfectly. Yeah. So I think I'm done. Any questions before I leave the stage? Because we are going straight into Q&A now. Question, comment, idea? Yes. So that's that's everything I came to say. I've said it. In case there's anything else you can ask. But the idea that I want you to take away is that there's probably a software for what you need. And if you don't know, you can ask. For a long time, we were struggling with some stuff till I asked someone, they helped me get it. Same way for other churches as well. So there's somebody who knows what you need and can help you. My brother would have forgotten the question before the mic comes. Thank you.
So, okay, we're talking about major focuses for small churches that we don't have much budget for a start.
Yeah.
And then, for how effective, then the software that will be able to give you exactly what you want are paid for. So, how efficient are some of these free softwares to be able to give you a good output?
So, in my experience, free software has been on par with paid software. The difference is that you don't have support. Okay? You don't know how to use OBS, you don't know how to use OBS. But if you are using vMix, which is a paid software, if you write to them, they will respond in less than half a day. They are that ready to help you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So support is the main difference. But in terms of quality, you don't watch a YouTube stream and say, what did they use to stream this thing? You can really tell. As long as the stream works and it's seamless, you are fine. Okay? Thank you very much. God bless you.
Wow, what an amazing session that was. Now, to the climax of the event, the time we have been waiting for, the question and answer session. Kindly join me as we welcome Sesan Ogbe of Holyhill Church, Nigeria, to anchor this session.
We live? Okay. Thank you, Pastor Gbenro, for that powerful session. We're hoping not to take too much time for these questions. Then any question we can't get to, be sure to identify with us so that we can be able to provide proper guidance as required. This question would, where is Ololade? We will also need to help with this. But without further ado, I would like to get into it. So the first question I have here says, I would like to ask Pastor Gbenro, is how do you manage image magnification LED during service without making it seem distracting? Is it advisable to leave transitions for more than 10 seconds or more? PG, based on your experience, what do you think?
Okay, so for those who don't know, image magnification, where should I face? Okay. I can stand on the stage. Okay. So image magnification is what we are doing here, in that you take a picture from the screen or from the church and you magnify it so that people at the back can see clearly. Okay? So that's what iMag is. Should we have image magnification in church? Yes, definitely. However, we also have to be mindful that we are not distracting or detracting from people's worship experiences. So, for example, if you are going to show people worshiping, it should be in a way that it doesn't distract them. Because how many of you have you seen someone, maybe is eating chewing gum, and then when the camera comes, they just quickly change their face and that's kind of what happens. It takes people from whatever they were focusing on. So, general advice I give, try to show people in worship from the back so that their faces don't show. It's advice. Some churches like to see the people. Depends on your church. But that's the advice I give. Transitions, 10 seconds. I really don't understand the question, but
I think the person is trying to ask in terms of also distraction.
Okay,
when it gets too much, or
keeping an image on screen.
Yeah, on screen. Yeah.
So,
like transition image is not necessarily pastor slides.
Okay.
Moving from one scene to another. Most times, I know we use it to cover up when there are issues. You understand this?
Okay, so I get what you're saying. You have to understand that in church, and like Demola spoke about, you have multiple audiences you are catering to. Your primary audience is people in the hall. Your secondary audience, that's for most churches. More and more, we are seeing people who have a small primary in-house audience and a very large online audience. For those people then, what's online is important. So you need to determine what is important to your audience and then make sure that's what's on the screen. However, for video mixing, whoever is directing has to be skilled enough to carry people along. So for example, pastor says hi to a sister who is seated somewhere. The director should be able to catch that sister's picture, then quickly go back to pastor. And now, it would now be unfair that pastor has preached for 10 minutes and we are still looking at the sister's face. So you get what I'm saying. So that the director for video director is a very important role, and it's something you shouldn't joke with. Okay? Should I stay here or go down? Okay.
This person asked which camera is best for live stream and which mixer as well. I'd like to do a bit of reframe.
Okay.
That question seems a bit vague, but what we're looking at, I think the question should be looking at a small church, perhaps that is trying to start or that has a very minimal budget. That has a very minimal budget. Mm-hmm. What is the best affordable setup they can have?
Okay, my time ran out, so I didn't go through all my slides, but one of the things I wanted to say was that you need to start from where you are. A lot of us get into an unnecessary competition with other churches, and so we struggle with what to get. I have churches I advise, and all of them use mobile phones. They put a mobile phone on a tripod and stream directly from it, and it works. Some people connect their mobile phone to vMix and then use that to work. Some people have 4 mobile phones using NDI to connect into their streaming software, and they stream and it works. So start from where you are. However, if you now ask me my preference, in the last few years, we've seen that camcorders are beginning to lose their popularity. And the reason why is that the image sensor in camcorders are not as big as they should be. So you see better image sensors in DSLRs, Micro Four Thirds, and other kinds of cameras. So you see churches, like Holyhill now uses Micro Four Thirds. The video quality is good. Is it not good? Say it's not good so that we don't coast you again. I'm joking. But seriously, the cameras are smaller than camcorders. They are cheaper, and they are easy to manage. So my personal preference right now is to use Micro Four Thirds for churches. And you can find them in budgets from $200. Instead of a camcorder, the last one I got was for about 1.2 million. So you see the difference, right? So my preference for small churches, focus on what you can afford and can do the job.
Thank you. Speaking to that, a bit more way of saying it is there's no one-size-fits-all situation. Yeah. He once showed me a church that used an iPhone to stream their service, and it's really great because let's be honest with ourselves, a lot of churches, like you said, started from living rooms where people use their personal equipments to try and put out content and all. So I think you should just focus on what you have and move on from there. Yeah, so going to the core.
Sorry, I think someone has a question in-house.
Okay, I think we should take that before I go to the next one.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm very much pleased to be here again. I think the last time I was in Holyhill Church was about 7-8 years ago while you were still in the other place. Okay, so thank you very much, Pastor Gbenro, for that. I was just thinking, sometimes some churches, believe media people can double as ICT people also for the church. And, beyond the church media responsibilities, they can also help with some ICT things in the church. For instance, now maybe church wants to, do some analytics, data analytics, and maybe church growth and some other kind of things. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that and, how to, do those kind of analytics, maybe church growth data, membership, members retention, and some of those things. Maybe there's an easy way to go about that. Thank you very much.
Okay. So as to, can you do other things apart from media? Yes. In fact, as a pastor, I mandate it. You must do other things. That being said, we should also try to do what we are good at. And if we are... I think it was Ololade as well as Demola who spoke about excellence. If we are unable to do an excellent job, we should either gain the skills or find someone else who can help us with that. And so there are tools that can help you. Planning Center, for example, has a very, very good member management, let's call it Moodle. So you can use Planning Center to do that. And it can show you, if you mark attendance, it can show you who has been coming and so on and so forth. There's a church in Lagos called the PowerPoint Tribe. They built their own completely out of Google, Google tools. So Google Analytics, Google Docs, Google everything, and it works. So there's help available. I'm sure you can find something that can help you if you don't know how to do it. But, it's always good to upskill yourself. Things I've learned in church are like 200, so.
The next question here is it's quite fun. We cannot resist to sinful and illegal means to do God's work. This is because in Nigerian church media, we are mostly consumers of tech, software, internet, hardware, but we are not creators of tech. What are the opportunities for us as Nigerians to create apps, softwares, and tools to be suitable for our use?
So, yes. The thing is, if you ask anybody, they'll say there are too many churches in Nigeria. Abi? Once you meet somebody, you say, all these pastors, too many churches. You hear all those kind of things a lot. Now, those conversations, although they are not uplifting, they point to something. There is a huge market ready for church tech. If you want to know, speak to the people who sell microphones, speakers, and those things. They are always selling. Now, if you are able to create a solution that works for churches, there is a ready market for you. Now, what is useful? What are things that you can do? We still don't have an excellent way to do offerings online in Nigeria. We just use the standard banking tools. You understand? But most people who have a give option integrated to their website, it doesn't work as well as it should. So that's one opportunity I see. Presentation software itself. Holyhill that I like so much was built by a bunch of Brazilian guys who are evangelicals. Do you understand? And they built it because they need it. If we need the Yoruba hymn book. We need all sorts of stuff. So I think the opportunities are there. The question though is, are you willing to build it? And when you build it, will you give us free? Or now we have to resort to the same illegal means to get it. So, okay.
Okay, I would allow Lynn answer this next question.
Okay.
It says, the uniqueness of self-taught media persons in Nigeria. So in the uniqueness of self-taught media persons in Nigeria, how can big churches or those who have been successful to make a career out of it or create learning opportunities for newbies?
So Lane will answer.
Yeah, Lane. I hope you got the question, Lane.
I did not.
Okay, I'll come again. So, in the uniqueness of self-taught media persons in Nigeria, how can big churches or those who have been successful to make a career out of it create learning opportunities for newbies?
Oh, that is a really good question, actually. So a trend that we're starting to see a lot of big churches here in the U.S. Move towards is building their own curriculum. So, for example, my team is in the process of writing and producing our own curriculum for our own system to use to train with our volunteers. But our goal is to make that public and applicable for churches across the world with varying degrees of implementation, scale, and budget in mind. So, and that's a trend that we're seeing a lot of churches start embracing. Excuse me. Additionally, there are a lot of really good online resources. Just Googling church production is going to get you a a very good starting point for those resources. So off the top of my head, MXU is one resource that we've used in the past. Own the Mix is another resource. Both of those lean more towards audio because that's a little bit more specialized training, but they do have video video curriculum on presentation software such as ProPresenter, lighting, using how to use lighting, how to set up lighting, things like that. So in terms of what big churches can do, we're already starting to see that process come to fruition. I think that it's just we need to, as we kick that ball a little further down the road, we need to work on better making that information available.
For the answer, I really appreciate that. On a final note, if there are no other questions, you see, thank you. Where's the microphone? One, two, three, right? So I think we start from him. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Hello. Okay, thank you. The question for Pastor PG.
Aside, Pastor PG, YouTube not Pastor PG.
Okay.
PG.
PG.
Thank you.
Okay. Aside the YouTube transcribing of languages and stuff, what other software can we use during live service? I believe that our intonation, our words are quite different. So for the online people who wants to communicate, to hear what a pastor, for instance, a Yoruba man who is a real Yoruba man, pronouncing some words are quite different from the transcribing. What other software can be better off?
So to get the question, you are asking, are we talking live or post-processed video?
Both.
Okay. So I haven't actually seen YouTube do live transcription, so I don't know about YouTube. But Facebook's live transcriptions are really good. We have a number of people who follow our service who are hearing impaired, and they can follow service because the transcriptions are good on Facebook. However, for YouTube, I haven't seen the live transcriptions. But there are different softwares that you can use for transcription services. So it takes your audio, converts it, and puts text. And then you will just go through it and confirm that it makes sense before you apply it to the video. I don't have any offhand. I can probably check, and I'll share with Ololade to share with the group.
A good example is AWS. It's free for like a year.
Okay.
If you care to share.
Can you just wait a bit? Let me just finish this session.
What is that?
Sorry, that's Demola.
Oh, okay. Demola, yeah, you have something about. Oh, okay. Thank you. A good software to use, which I've tried a couple of times, is AWS. You can do text and it converts to voice. You can have audio and it will convert to captions for you. The only thing is limited because it's free. But if you can take your time to cut, I'm sure you can use out. The only complaint I've had with people using it is because it's from the US, the accents, you understand. But it also has a bit of coding to it, where you can do intonations and all, you understand, to make sure you get the best out of it. Thank you. Next questions.
Okay, sorry, just to add to this, there's now low-cost solution. How many of you have heard of the Google Pixel phone? Okay, I'm a huge fan, so I use them. I've used every single one. But Pixels come with a sound recorder. The sound recorder in the Pixel does live transcription, and arguably it's the best. So we use it a lot for meetings in church because it transcribes word for word. I wish we could put one on a camera and you could see it right now as we were speaking. It would be putting commas and so on and so forth. So it's really good. So you can find a used Pixel for under $100, and then you can use that. If you use that, you record the audio, take the text, and then you can apply it to a video because it saves as text as well. Okay? I just thought of that while I was here.
Okay, before the next question, I have a question for Demola online. So, can Demola hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay, and the question reads, my question, how can we posture our church well on social media, given the fact that the space is so much saturated with all sorts of unanointed content?
Well, I think basically the first thing I'll first explain as regards how to post yourself on social media is just generally simple. One, the reason why I complain that there are many unanointed content is because there are not a lot of anointed content. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? So, first and foremost, push your content. Everybody is sharing his own narration. So let's share as many narration as possible as we can. But before you even start sharing your own content or your own narration, you need to sit down and understand what we call your demographic. What message are you sharing? What demographic do you want to reach? What kind of content do you want to attend to? Are you getting what I'm saying right now? So when I use the word content is king, you have to have what we call your own niche, your own message. You have to have what we call your own demographic. So if I'm going to be pushing out our content on social media, what kind of content do I want to push? What demography am I attending to? When you understand your niche demography you want to attend to, do everything you can to reach that particular demography and that particular content. So for example, are the people you are pushing your content to, do they belong to the Generation X or Gen Zs? Are they the baby boomers? So you need to know what demography. When you understand the demography and where you want to push your content to, do everything you can to reach out to them based on the social media that they belong to. So to summarize what I said earlier on once again, is that the reason why they are complaining that there are many ungodly content is because godly people are not pushing lots of godly content. So push your godly content. The internet is free for all. It is not built for ungodly people. And I personally believe that when the Bible says go you into the world, it never used the word you should physically go you into the world. It just said go you into the world. Are you getting me now? So the internet is a level playing ground that has made the world a global village. So let us leverage it the best way we can to push our content. And please, we don't need to be very methodological. I'm trying to use the right word. Use the particular method. Are you getting me now? Let's be creative. You get? Let's freestyle. Let's get out of our shells and push this content and the gospel. You understand? The way that would meet the people that want to pass the message to. Thank you.
Okay, Demola, before you go, I think this is like a follow-up to that, but asked by another person, which says, apart from sermons, can you give examples of content that can be pushed out on social media, apart from sermons, on the church?
Apart from sermons? Oh, beautiful skits. It's high time we start having gospel entertainment skits. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? Music. Do you get what I'm saying right now? In fact, there are ways we can push the gospel creatively. Do you get me now? Not necessarily having to push sermons. There are very creative ways that we can do it. So skits are what are trending right now. Do you get what I'm saying right now? Why are we not having dance challenges with gospel musics? Trending gospel musics that that are out right now. Do you get me now? So why are we not having beautiful Christian arts that are being sold as NFTs as low as what? $1 or even 25 cents or 1,000 naira. And these NFTs are being printed on t-shirts talking about Jesus loves you. So imagine someone designing an NFT that we are, everybody in this auditorium, are you getting me now? Or every Christian in Abuja is using as his avatar on all the social media that just talks about the fact that God loves you, and it becomes a trend, a vibe,
Imagine how that will spread the love of God more than even a video that does not go viral online. Do you get what I'm saying right now? So all I'm just trying to say is that let's get creative about how we want to push our content. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Thank you very much.
That should be pioneering this idea.
All right, thank you very much.
Access to the mind of God.
All right, thank you very much, Demola. We have 2 questions from the audience. If we still have time, we'll take one more from online. Yeah, your question.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you, Pastor Gbenro and Holyhill Church. For resources, there's one resources by Life Church, Open Creative. It's amazing. There's plenty for media and tech. And they also have softwares too that we could use for church. The person that asked about analytics, there's a software they built that you could use in your church. My question is, on staff and volunteer roles in our media team, what would you say to someone that wants to make a career out of media and specifically directed to churches? Yes, Pastor Gbenro. Someone that wants to, Pastor Gbenro, someone who wants to make a career out of being a media personality in church. And he wants to make it a ministry and a career. 2 things.
Okay, praise God. I felt that question would be awesome for Demola, given that, that's what he does. But it's important for me to share that you have to mentally prepare yourself for the market you want to work for. So you cannot approach worship ministry with a profit mindset. Okay? That being said, to get into this, first you have to, I know a number of popular photographers who started as church photographers. I myself dabbled into photography because I used to take pictures in church every Sunday for a while. And so you can build the skill in church and then it will have resale value. I know a number of media people who are media people in church, but then have a business providing media branding services professionally. So it's a really open space. As to what courses to take and what to do, I probably can't give you all the information, but it's something to think about. And I'm sure Demola can comment if he's allowed to.
Okay, Ololade.
Can you hear me? All right, great. So, here's what I think, right? I think I mentioned this while I was talking, that in Nigeria, most of us in church tech are volunteers. That's because most of our churches do not have structure for paid church tech team members. So if you happen to find yourself in a city or in a church that has that structure, lucky you. That means you can get both material stuff in your pocket, there's payment, and then you can also get the blessing. But fortunately for us in Nigeria, right, most of our churches do not have those structures yet. And I think we're gradually getting to that point where there are some roles in church that now need to be full-time and on payroll. Because while churches are getting to a point, like for our church, for example, we recently launched an online radio. And we're now thinking of employing some people who are going to be full-time on that radio to constantly push out anointed content, right? So if you find yourself in that kind of church, great. You can then begin to pursue a career in church tech within that system. But for now, I don't know that there are many churches that have it. So just keep building yourself. If you happen to find yourself abroad, like for me, for example, I met Lane and Austin and all the other guys was, whenever I'm in the US, I volunteer at Victory World Church. And most of them, they are full-time. If I was based in the US, I'll probably be full-time in the church as well. I don't know if you guys get me. So the most important thing I think you should focus on now is to keep building your skills. You don't know when it might come in, and you don't know whether you find yourself in Canada or anywhere, and then you'll be able to become a full-time paid staff in that sense. But for now, most of our churches in Nigeria, I believe, do not have that structure. Very few churches do. So that would be my answer to that question. Thank you.
Speaking to that, I think you should also have approach it from the perspective of looking beyond church. I mean, I was self-taught. I worked in church, and it gave me an opportunity to work in a media house in Abuja, a very big one, because I picked up the skills. So, like he said, the most important thing is continue building your skills. Build skills, and it's not just beyond building skills just for the sake of building skills. If you can get certification, get them. Because everybody knows that the way Nigeria is certificate. You understand? So look at it from that perspective, and it doesn't have to be church. Thank you. And the last question.
Okay. My question goes to how do you build your team? Because, okay, peradventure, maybe you happen to be, your team members happen to be in the team because, okay, they say, join the unit in church, so they could serve God, and then someone just peradventure find themselves in the media team, or peradventure, okay, I happen to like the head of the media unit, okay, let me just join this unit so that I'll be close to him. So, and then when they happen to join the team, they find it difficult to navigate through those kind of situations, and even outside of those that really need are passionate about media. How do you focus on building up your team?
I think I'll let Ololade answer.
All right, thank you. So, I think I mentioned earlier that we still have about 10 minutes. I think we can still take a few more questions. All right, but let's take some online, then we'll come back in-house. For building up the team, one thing that I've learned is sometimes the technical part of building people is the easy part. Right? There are other parts that are more difficult. It's easy for people to pick up skills when it comes to camera handling and all of that. But when it comes to soft skills like being punctual, attention to details, being alert, that's where the real work is. When people come in, they see the glamour. Oh, I like the way the tech team, like in our church, for example, we noticed that sometime, I think it was November, we got some new gadgets. So when you see tech team guys working out, you see them with radio, this kind of FBI earpiece, black on black. So it looks cool. So it's noticed that a lot of people started flooding, we want to join the tech team, not because they are passionate about it, they just like the way it looks. Right? So you need to be able to distinguish between why people are trying to be a part of the team. Secondly, is that when people now come and say they want to join, you have to be patient. Like I said, as time goes on, a lot of people, when they come in, they might not have the skills that you need them to have. But the most important is they have the heart to learn. So you just keep teaching and also focus not just on the technical parts as well, but we have to go on the spiritual growth, on the soft skills that they need to learn. Bonding is part of some of the important things that you need to do as a team because it creates that synergy. There are a lot of other things. Those are some of the things that you do to then build your people. Sometimes not just technical trainings and showing them how to do camera and sound. Sometimes those things they might even eventually pick up those skills, but the other parts will be affecting the way they deliver on the skills that they've picked up. So we need to ensure that when we're trying to build our team, it has to be holistic. It shouldn't be just technical. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay. The last question I think we have online speaks to what he also asked, but nevertheless, he said, how do you attract people to join display media team in church? And what inexpensive tools can you use to capture sound from a mobile device to a sound mixer to be streamed online? Then the last one is, what website can we get free beautiful motion pictures from for screen backgrounds? I think Pastor Gbenro should answer the second one, and Ololade should do the first one. The first one is, how do you attract people to join team? Inexpensive tool you can use to capture sound from a mobile phone to a sound mixer.
Okay, how to attract people to join the team? Let me answer that one. Pastor Gbenro is the technical person. You answer the technical one. All right. How to attract people to join the team? It's when there's something one of my mentors taught me. He said, make the grass green and the sheep will come. Right? Sometimes the things we need to do to attract people are very simple things. Like I told you, for example, the way we started dressing. And the funny thing is that for a long time, we were like, we're black. Some camera guys, in fact, the ladies, they wear Ashebi, full Ashebi with head tie like this. On Thanksgiving Sunday, it was always a problem. But this was what happened. So after some time, and I can't remember what book I was reading. I think it was Good to Great or something. By the way, if you haven't read that book, you should read it. And then something popped in my heart that if I want people to be wearing black, I should just be wearing black. So I just started wearing black. And nothing changed for a while. But then something happened. I didn't know when it happened. But one Sunday, we just realized that all the guys on camera were wearing black. And ever since then, if a new member comes in, it's an unwritten code. Guys, can you wear black? If you can't wear black, just leave now. So when people now see us with our black on black, the gadgets, everything hanging, and then the way we relate, we're like a very big family. If you see us when we're having a hangout and all of that, or even when we are not working and we're just gisting, it's fun. So those are some of the things that you can do. It's not, because the truth is you can't really pay people, especially if your church doesn't have that structure. But you can make the work easier for them. Right? You can make it fun for them. And you can make them feel like what they do matter. The moment you are able to do that consistently, automatically people will start coming in. You don't even have to go and start begging. There was a time we were trying to beg people, come and join. People were not joining us. But now we have so many people that are now trying to join. We just built a tech studio. And so when people just see the place, oh my God, this place is nice, I want to join the tech team. Boom. Oh my God, this place. So it's, like I said, I'll go back to my answer. Make the grass green and the sheep will come. So that will be my answer. Thank you.
To the technical part, inexpensive tool you can use to capture sound from a mobile device to a sound mixer to be streamed online.
So my answer to that is we tend to complicate things too much. Let me explain why. The phone is already online. Why do you want to take the sound from the phone down to earth, then take it back online? So for a lot of churches, those are the kind of things they struggle with. You can stream with a phone. Why get a camera, get a video mixer, then you now need a special internet connection to stream the things that you have that are not online? Do you see where I'm going to with this? So it's important that you get why you are doing this. This is also an elaborate way to say I don't know the software yet. I'll go and research it. But really, it's unnecessarily complicated. For example, my church streams to Mixler. Most people who stream to Mixler in church, we use it for daily prayers. So if a pastor is leading prayers, he leads prayers from home on his phone. He doesn't need me to bring the church mic, church mixer, church speaker, church computer, internet connection to now help him stream the prayer that he can do from his phone. Do you get what I'm saying? So the use case doesn't really hit it for me, but I'll check. If I have anything, I'll share.
Let me add something. I'm guessing maybe the question this person is asking is maybe
capture card,
like a capture
sound card rather.
Or sound card or something.
Oh,
maybe they want to play. How do I explain it? Maybe they want to play something from another device to add to their computer, and I think there are those small USB
with
those small USB sound cards.
So there are USB sound cards. Those exist where you can use those. There are also. I'm still struggling. Let me explain why. If you want to play something online, do you already have a media setup in church that you now want to use your phone to bring the audio in? If yes, why are we not doing jacks? Do you understand what I'm saying? Why are we not doing some sort of converter for the iPhone in case the jack doesn't work? And there are
those exist.
Yes, and then there's this small audio mixer. My sound guys use them. My stage guys use them a lot in church. Sorry? I don't know the name of handle. Let me not mention the name of company and they won't pay me. But it's a small mixer, like 3-4 channels. You can put in mics, but they always have a Bluetooth chip on them. So you can connect your phone to that, and then that streams to the house, and then you can obviously still stream that online. But like I said, the use case doesn't jam for me. So
I think maybe we can get, when we get more information, the person can reach us later, and then we'll be able to help with that.
Yeah.
Last question.
Your mic.
What website can you get free beautiful motion pictures from? Me, simple, download from YouTube. But I know there are specialized places where you can get church motion guides. But the issue is that resources on YouTube is free. It's already there in the public eye. There are some you can pay for. There are some websites where you can pay. But even for YouTube, there are content that are copyrighted. Because I understand that when you play some music, even when you are doing your
like a
live
countdown.
service or countdown, they will mute that part or even remove it sometimes.
So, it's a good way to also know if your choir is really jamming. Because if your choir jams and it sounds like the original and they flag you should give your choir thumbs up.
So, but there are a lot of free resources out there.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I don't have any particular...
He mentioned one, Church Motion Graphics.
Yeah, Church Motion Graphics.
So a lot of the motion graphics companies have a free account they used to draw you in. So the free account always has maybe like 10, 15 graphics for you. So by the time you really need graphics, you to pay for it or manage the one you can find. There is a lot of free, and if you are good enough, you can find templates online that you can build your own with your own video editor. So it's not the end of the world. It's just that in order to be compliant, you need to work harder. Okay? Don't just carry free things because they're free. That's my strong, impassioned reminder.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
We have one more question.
Okay, one more. Yeah, Baxter.
Okay.
Okay. So, you still have questions? Oh, wow. Let's pass them.
We have
two more. Okay, after 3 more. Wow. Oh, you're not asking. Okay,
let's just take those two.
After these two, you want to ask question too. Okay. After that, please let's make it. Let's ask all the questions so that we can take them together. Yeah. Come to the front first, Philip. Let's start from the front. Thank you. Let's start from her, the lady in orange.
Okay, thank you for this great opportunity. I just want to ask simple question. Must media team wear black? Because most of the media teams that I know, they wear black. Yeah. So I don't know what is behind the...
Okay, so...
The second question.
All right, thank you. My first question is, what's the best way to handle impromptu and unexpected happenings in service? Let me give an example. Like, you come in the morning, you set up everything and it's working. Just when choir goes up and say hallelujah, your system refuses to do
the system says hallelujah.
So that's one. Then secondly, is there what's the best video background to use? Like if you have an LED screen, like the color to use in order to get a good quality video. I don't know if...
Okay, I get the question. Yeah. Last question, please. Can you pass the mic to him?
Okay, so is there any music director here? Okay, so...
go ahead, just go ahead.
Okay, so for music teams, I noticed that, or I know that apart from the music skill and knowledge, they interact with a lot of tech tools. And I know that they need to interact more with the tech team, maybe the sound guys. But there's a problem in almost every church. I don't know if it's the avenue for them to collaborate or to do things together. Apart from their own primary tools, sometimes the church gets them the tools they need. They need some capacity building on how to use some of those tools. Sometimes the equipment spoil earlier than they should because they don't have the capacity to handle some of them. Then sometimes they need to interact with the sound guys. There's always friction. How do you, is there a way to, I don't know.
Okay, I get your question. So the first question about wearing black.
So can you hear me? Okay, yeah. So black is compulsory for tech team. I will explain why. It's because our work is, first of all, you are required to be largely invisible, right? Imagine during service, for example, right? If this was a typical service, you wouldn't see guys wearing this. They'll be wearing black because sometimes you have to move around. Like you said, your camera on that side can just decide to go off, and you're trying to move. If you are wearing bright colors, you are going to be distracting. Imagine also people who take pictures and they have to move in between the crowd. All of those movements, especially when the preacher is even preaching and you're trying to move around, do things, it's distracting. That's why you're advised to wear black, so that you are invisible. Now, in Nigeria, we don't have much of this, but like in Victory, for example, there are camera guys on stage during worship. They're on stage. They are taking shots, but you will not see them. Maybe if you have time on Sunday, Victory airs one of their services end at about 3 p.m. or so, Nigerian time. Just try and watch it. There are camera guys on stage. They are wearing black. Because they are wearing black, you won't see them. But they are there taking shots. But you'll be seeing somebody moving with the guitarist. You'll be seeing the guitarist, you won't see the guy. Those are some of the reasons why we need to wear black. It helps you to be as invisible as possible. Tech team is not glamorous, like I said. So if you want to look nice, it's not for us. So that is the major reason.
Second question, malfunction of equipment during service. And what was the second one? Okay, video background as to how do you reconcile that? Okay, I'll answer the first one with just one word. If you find any equipment malfunction, the first thing to do, even though all your head tells you to do is to panic, don't panic. This is the reason why. If you understand your system and you are calm, you can easily tell where the problem is coming from. It's technical, it's equipment. Just like Demola said earlier, if you understand, Lane mentioned, he said, if you understand your workflow, your signal flow rather, if anything happens, you would know where to look. But if you panic, there's a possibility that you would create more damage than what's already existing. About your second question, as to background colors and with the image you're trying to capture. There's something we've been doing lately. Except for choir, or some people where you can't control that wear different kind of colors. Even that you can control. If pastor comes on stage, the background is not the same every Sunday. What we try to do is, you try not to use backgrounds that blend into what they wear. That way, your video captures the image clearly and there are no issues. I know there are some. The solution to that is to get a lot of backgrounds.
Variety.
Mm-hmm. So that when someone is standing, you will not just be seeing only head, while the cloth has blended to the background. Another thing is, I know there are some times you have space constraints. Always learn to allow distance between the person standing and your background screens. You can't have someone standing.
So just a comment to that, yeah. Right? A lot of the bleed that you see with backgrounds also comes from the quality of your camera sensor. So the camera you're using often has an impact as well. Also lighting. So if you are able to balance your lighting, balance the background, balance the camera, it should not happen too much. But like they said, a very important thing is to get a variety of backgrounds so that whatever somebody wears, you can't tell pastor what cloth to wear. You get. So you also have to try and balance your expectations.
So to be safe, what we do to be safe, we have backgrounds for when he wears bright colors. We have backgrounds for when he wears dark colors. We have background for when he wears patterned clothes. So no matter what he wears, we always have a background that can contrast it. So I would advise you to do the same. Just try and get backgrounds for those different scenarios, because sometimes you always have. We can discuss some of these things after. We need to.
The last question I wish Lynn was still around. But
feminist question.
The last question about friction between sound guys.
Let me answer that one.
Okay.
So, for a very long time we used to have the friction, and sometimes we still do. But what I have tried to educate my team on is that our role as tech team is supportive, right? We are like, how do I explain? We are add-ons to every other team in church. So we are sort of enhancements. Thank you. To sort of enhance every other team, the worship experience and all of that. Like something happened during the 3 days program that we had. We had set up overflow, but then we prepared somewhere for the nursing mothers, which is, the nursing mothers under our kids' church, right? So we already made plans for them. We made plans that kids' church will have their own space. Nursing mothers will give them sound and video. So in the course of the service, we realized that we had a power surge, and that's why I say that equipment are equipment. They can malfunction on you. You must always have a backup. So we had a power surge. The sound, the thing burnt the cone of the speaker, and the sound became distorted. And like 3 of the nursing mothers were not happy, and they started working. I knelt down and begged them. Do you understand? Because we had support services for every other unit in church. So the reason why we have those frictions most times is that we see ourselves as different teams. You are the tech team, we are the choir. You are this, we are that. We are supposed to be, the tech team is actually supposed to support every other church. That's why I said the growth of your church as the tech team is largely dependent on you, because you are supposed to enable all of those other units to be able to perform optimally, including your kids' church, including the choir, the ushers, everything. All right.
So the only other thing I wanted to add to that is that you cannot expect robust interactions from only church interactions. So every time you see them, I'm using them, but you get what I'm saying, you see each other is during service. So every interaction with Sesan is that he comes to tell me my mic is not working. Obviously, that's not a relationship. You understand? So you have to build a relationship beyond that official interaction. So after service, take a minute to sit down with the person and say, this is what normally causes this problem. This is how we do it. Because you cannot, your role in church is not to be the lion of the tribe of Judah. You can't be fighting everybody every service. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't win. Sure you get. So it's important that you try and build relationships beyond the official interactions, okay? Thank you.
So speaking to the same thing, I heard Lynn has a comment or two about interaction or synergy between groups in church. Can I put Lynn on?
Hey. I'm going to echo a lot of what's already been said. But it largely will come down to relationship. So for am I up?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. For us, historically, yes, we've run into some similar issues where production and worship team are at odds, production and pastors are at odds, production and kids ministry at odds, because they all have asks of us, and that's all the only interaction we ever receive. So what we've been doing very intentionally since even the top of 2020, just before COVID hit, was our team has been intentionally going out and building relationship with the peoples that we're interacting with. So worship team, Now we actually have a camaraderie, a fun relationship. So we've entertained each other as guests. We've hung out outside of ministry moments. We've tried to break down the borders between our department and their department and their department and their department, so that it's relational equity. Relational equity gets built into our professional relationship. And so I will echo what the other gentlemen have said. It largely is going to come down to building relationships and making sure that those relationships are mutually beneficial.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. I think at this point we'll have to retire. If you have any other questions, you can meet us personally. We'll be glad to help. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
That was great. Can we all appreciate our speakers, our anchors, our questioners, and of course me, your guide? We have come to the end of this event, and for the closing remark and the prayers, we welcome again and for the last time Ololade Otayemi of Holyhill Church.
Can we hear me? Okay. All right. So, thank you, Zoe. That's our homemade artificial intelligence. Okay. I want to thank everybody. I think I can take this off now. I want to thank everybody for those who have joined us physically and those who have joined us online. Thank you very much. The next step here is for us to then go ahead and begin to implement some of the things we've learned. In the meeting we had with some of the speakers, we had a meeting, all of the speakers, we had a meeting last night. And then one of the ideas that came up was that we need to have a system or like some sort of mentoring program sort of for small churches. Beyond this, where you can ask questions, you can reach out for help in case you need someone to come to your church to help you look at what you have to set it up, so that we can, because we are not in a competition, guys. We are all, like Pastor Gbenro said, we're all in the same army. We're just in different platoons. So we're gonna be doing that. All of the slides that were used in today's meetings, in today's presentation, will be shared. Pastor Gbenro also has given us a lot of softwares. We're going to share the link to the softwares. There are some that we have downloaded. They're going to bring a laptop there. If you have your flash, you can copy some of them. If not, you can just go online and download the softwares. We will be sharing some more information. We discussed last night with the speakers that we're going to have a Telegram group or I think as at the time the program started, we had about 220 people registered. We'll create a Telegram group for all of us so that we can share ideas. Why this became more important is because Pastor Gbenro has this little group that has about 20 people or thereabout in it. Yeah, and in that group, we've shared so many ideas that most of us are using in our churches. You know, someone will just say, oh, I had this issue. This was what I did. I had this issue. Like one day, someone was like, yeah, I need the capture card. I bought this capture card, 10,000 naira. I'm like, I bought this, just 10,000 naira. Oh, you know, and it solved the problem in that church. So we're going to create that avenue for us all to interact and be able to do that. So we have officially come to the end of Small Church Tech Up. I want to thank everyone. Thanks to the speakers. Thanks to the attendees. Thank you, everyone. Please let's put our hands together for ourselves. And let's have a wonderful weekend. I know we all have service tomorrow. So let's go and prepare for service tomorrow so that there won't be trouble in the house of God. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being a part of this event. Kudos to our online listeners and kudos to you too. I hope you have enjoyed this event as much as I have enjoyed guiding you today. Until next time, I remain your guide, Zoe. If you were wondering what I look like, this is what I look like.